I invite our panelists to come up to the stage as I bring up Jenny Rickel as well, who'll be moderating. As you saw from the video, Jenny Rickel, past GWATA president and advocate for our organization for many years, and local technology entrepreneur, is going to be moderating this outstanding panel today. So thank you, Jenny.
Thank you very much. I didn't realize they were going to play that little commercial beforehand. So I have a new hairdo since then, and I'm getting a lot of compliments on my bangs. So thanks to my friends at Elements, a longtime GWATA sponsor and member. Anyway, this is not about me today. I do like to point out that these gentlemen all have a lot in common in that I know they all have been nominated and or won the Entrepreneur of the Year or Tech Savvy Business Award that GWATA has been presenting at the Innovator Awards Luncheon annually since 1999. So it's nearly a 20-year program, usually held in April, but Jenny helped me out. I think it's September this year, late September, 26th. So these gentlemen have been doing a lot of great work in the region for a number of years, and without further ado, I think we'll let them tell you a little bit about themselves. So who's the lucky first one? Pick me, Drew says.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
This is Drew Zabrocki, founder and CEO of Centricity.
Hi, guys. Good to be here today. So, yeah, it's been an awesome entrepreneurial history here in the Wenatchee Valley, starting back in technology, very much at a physical layer. So the light switches and things that turn on within your buildings, automation, security, and control systems. We went on to wiring data centers through a company called Genext, who also provided services across the fiber optic networks, TV, voice, and internet services, and we were proud to serve many of you in the rooms and many of the customers in the Valley. But then just, I guess it was about 5 years ago, we were working with some of our clients transitioning that business, and we learned about some of the dramatic challenges of data in agriculture. And there's such a demand for information and such value in that information as it's often used to make better decisions on the farm and across all aspects of the supply chain. And that's when we started to transition from connectivity services to more data and software services. And so now with Centricity, we serve thousands of farmers, primarily along the Pacific Coast and inland Northwest, helping them to make better decisions with the massive amounts of data that they collect on the farm. But because that information has so much value to them and their position in the market, it makes sense to protect that knowledge. And so we've developed some proprietary and unique technologies using blockchain and other software services to encapsulate and protect that information as it moves across the global supply chain. And so we're fortunate to work with a number of global brands, some of the most widely respected names in produce here locally as well as internationally, and just having a really good time doing that. I mean, we'll talk about it later.
Very good, Drew. Thank you. And we'll go ahead and move along to Dave Carlson, founder, CEO of Giga Watt.
Hello, everybody. So I came to Wenatchee Valley about 6 years ago to experiment with Bitcoin. You probably all heard of Bitcoin. So that dialogue has changed a lot in the last few years. And I think I had the true start-to-finish entrepreneurial experience there. I've been a serial entrepreneur since '99, but this one was sort of the come into town, start from scratch, try to meet some friendly, landowners, and then experiment with this new technology, this new blockchain technology called Bitcoin. And I think it was interesting because I literally, I came in on a very low budget. I established a very small warehouse where I was running these devices that you see over here on this table. I literally slept, camped in the building, which is probably not legal, but it was sort of that, start from the dusty floor. And so that business essentially turned into Giga Watt in 2017. January 1st, 2017, we officially founded Giga Watt as a continuation of this first company to really scale, to really understand. Now we had a lot of good examples on how this business is done, and we made a lot of mistakes when those mistakes weren't so costly. And so then we were able to take this unit of knowledge and actually scale it. So Giga Watt is the sort of the scaled attack of this new big blockchain revolution that you're probably all hearing about with cryptocurrencies. And now Gigawatt is actually seeing that we're not in the Bitcoin business anymore. We're not in even the cryptocurrency business, so to speak. We're in the compute business. So the massively parallel compute, AI, 3D rendering, cryptocurrency, blockchain processing is all starting to migrate towards using this platform called blockchain. And the cryptocurrency and the tokens become the value exchange mechanism to be able to do that in a really easy and free-flowing way globally. So the experience of founding Gigawatt was pretty. It was shocking because as soon as we launched, it became a global name, a global brand, which I think a lot of people look at companies that have global presence and they think, oh, it's just you're doing a lot of business. But what it is a tidal wave, and it's a tsunami, and you get crushed. So that's been a really interesting challenge. It's been actually very difficult, but that's kind of the mode Gigawatt's in right now, and it's happening here in the Valley as sort of the epicenter, primarily because the resource available here is inexpensive power and with lots of capacity to tap. So that's kind of where Gigawatt ended up.
Very good. Thanks, Dave. Korey Korfiatis, co-founder and CEO of Legwork. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on at Legwork, Korey?
Sure thing. I like your comment of tidal wave because that's where I feel I'm at right now as well. And so to give you a little background, I've been in sales and marketing and creative since I got out of high school. And basically I've been here my entire life, 45 years. Love this valley, love working here. For a while I had a traditional style agency where we would work on some of the businesses that are in the room. And that was a lot of fun and I enjoyed that. Around the era of 2005 or 6, I started finding myself working in the dental industry. I never thought for a second I would be in the dental industry. I'd frankly in some ways like to go back to wine labels and coffee shops, but nonetheless, that's where I'm at. And it found me and I actually really enjoy it. So at that time, the agency started to have more dentists than anything else in our workload. And so we started to learn how dentists are operating from a marketing and sales perspective. So I came up with this concept of automation for referral programs and various things that we were doing at that time. So we came up with, around 2007, I met my now business partner, Jeff Weber, who's the president of Firefly, and we decided to form the two companies. And out of the ashes of that and some time and some I guess not so great timing, Legwork eventually came out and started to blossom. And now we serve 100% dentists all across the country and into Canada, and actually just signed one in Jamaica, so we're international. We have approximately 1,000 customers on the system. We just hired 6 staff people in the last 2 months. We're now at 30 staff people. We are the tidal wave that was described, or we're getting the tidal wave. We're underneath it right now trying to stay on top of it. And it's a great ride. It's a lot of fun. And this community has served me personally well. And so while I don't interact in the community as much as I did when I had my little fun agency where I got to see all of you, I'm pretty stoked with what we're up to. And I'm glad to be a part of GWATA again so I can say hello to all of you.
Very good. Thank you, Korey. So last but not least here, we've got Tom Arnold, which turned a lot of heads when you first came to town, right? Pretty popular name.
Right.
He's the founder and CEO of Pet Hub.
Good afternoon, everybody. If anybody has any Roseanne Barr jokes they think I haven't heard, I welcome them. You can tell me afterwards. How many people here have a pet at home? Like a dog or a cat? Yeah, huge. And everybody knows they're very much like our kids. I mean, they're furry little four-legged family members, and they mean a lot to us. So I had 2 cats and 2 dogs. At the time, in 2009, I was at Microsoft, and one of my cats got out. And it was an indoor-only cat, and I talk to people all the time. Oh, my cat's indoor-only. It never goes out. Well, that's where my head was. And she got startled by something, and she shot out the door. And I was immediately freaking out about, okay, where do I get a current photo of her? Who do I call? I don't know what to do. And so I started looking on the internet to try and figure this out. And I was shocked by the statistics. So less than 2% of cats, once they go missing, will get home again. Less than 18% of dogs, once they go missing, will get home again. And if an animal gets into the animal shelter, the odds are really against them as far as getting home again, because in many cases, only 25% will make it home again. 25% from the shelter get rehomed, and then the other half, different things can happen in that case. So that really hit me hard. And when I was at Microsoft, I'm like, what am I doing to make a difference in this world? I love tech. I love my animals. What can I do? And that's where the idea of Pet Hub came about. And so, of course, being the geek, I wanted to think, okay, can I create this cool network? And then I realized I could actually link a physical ID tag, with a QR code or with NFC, where you can just touch it to the phone, things like that, to an online profile. And then I started really geeking out, and I started thinking, well, wait, I could grab GPS off the phone, and I could send text alerts and emails, and what if I have this little safety circle so everybody gets an alert that my pet was just found? And then, then I'm over at opening up a Cashmere Valley bank account a couple of years ago when we moved over here 100%. I actually split my time since '98 being over here and over in the Seattle area. But I'm talking to somebody opening the account, and she says, well, my dog never leaves the yard. I'm like, yeah, my cat never leaves the house. And so I was like, okay, well, what happens if something happens to you while you're out and about? And so she's like, good point. So that's when we came up with the wallet card. So then this thing links to the same account, but it goes in your wallet and on your keychain. So while you're on your way to the hospital, your safety circle is helping your animal who's now at home, and you're not at home. So that's kind of the nutshell of it. And we were going retail. And retail is such a hard-fought battle to get in. It's so expensive. We went to all these trade shows. And it was about 2 years ago that Lorian Clemens, our VP of Operations, president of our home, because we're married, and she said, why are we spending all this money on going into retail? It's costing us probably about $10 a person to get them on the site, which is, if anybody who's done some of this stuff, that's actually not that bad. She said, we could go to these municipalities, we could subsidize the cost of the tags. They pay 17 cents for a stamped metal tag. The tags cost us 35. Why don't we pay that 18 cents ourselves? That's cheap to get a person onto the website. I was like, okay, tell me more. And so she said, and then we could pay ourselves back over a period of time as people come to the site. 5% of them upgrade to our premium features, which is the GPS and the text alerts and all that stuff. And then after we've paid ourselves back, we could share 10% of those recurring revenues back to the municipality. So suddenly we're keeping the animal from hitting their shelter doors. We're showing that they're being modern using these really cool ID tags. And we're putting money in their pocket through a new stream that they'd never had before in the form of a donation. And they're like, where do we sign up? So last year, we thought we'd get maybe 6. We got 27 last year with serving 40 different counties, cities and counties. Wenatchee is one of them. As a matter of fact, for all of you people who raised your hands, and we have photos of you now. If you're not licensed, we have a form over here so you can actually go and get licensed, and you'll get one of our ID tags. And it's a good thing and the right thing to do. And so this year we have 80 municipalities in our pipeline right now. So Tidal Wave, yeah, I feel you, brother.
Nice.
Tidal Wave, we sold 400,000 tags last year, and before we'd sold like a third of that. And so it's really taking off. So if anybody wants to join us on this journey, stop by, we'll tell you more, because it's a roller coaster ride, and it's a lot of fun. I think that's why we all do it. We're all adrenaline junkies.
Addicts of one form or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, gentlemen. So we're going to shift gears just a little bit here. Those introductions were very, very passionate in each and different industries. So it's a really great, diverse group up here today. So shout it out in the audience if you can think of an attribute that you associate with entrepreneurship. Does anybody have anything for us? I hear risk taker, passion, persistent, innovation. I hear something else? Patience, disruption, all very good. Do those sound like they might fit you for goofballs up here?
Goofball.
Yeah. They're all double-edged swords, though.
I know. So these gentlemen have had some questions that I have developed with the GWATA team ahead of time. So we're trying not to throw too many curveballs at them. But right now I'd like them to think about what most fits them, what their number two, maybe their spouse, anybody who was looking at them, what would they say was the most dominant entrepreneurial feature that you have? And then we also need to know what kind of ice cream you like. That helps me identify what kind of rascal you really are. Anyone want to take a stab at that?
Chocolate peanut butter.
Chocolate peanut butter?
Yeah.
Okay, you're on my team, Drew.
Right. You know, so I think those are all great descriptions of entrepreneurs. You know, I was talking with my daughter, and she had just set up a little home office with her little toy laptop and headphones so she could do conference calls like Daddy and Mommy do. And she even had her little desk set up with the pens and pencils. I said, oh, she's starting a new business. And so I said, you're an entrepreneur. And so we had to look that up because I needed to define it. And I realized that an entrepreneur takes an inordinate amount of risk. And I thought, ooh, yes, I do. Take an inordinate amount of risk. And we're really comfortable with that, I think, because of the balance of being able to be patient to know that those risks will pay off if you don't go too far, but you need to go far enough to let those risks be able to pay off. So there's like an expansion and contraction of your appetite of risk, and I think that's how I would describe the risk-taking that I take. One of the things that maybe hasn't been real helpful for me, and I'm working on that, is I tend to be a bit of a lone wolf. I go out there and I make things happen and then I bring it home. And sometimes I don't engage others as well as I should. And I saw something on the wall of this really cool restaurant in San Diego, and it said, if you want to go get there fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so I've been trying to embody that more into our life and into our business.
Very good. Any other thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah, I would say a couple things. Because if you're an entrepreneur and you combine the passion with sort of this never say die, never quit mentality, it's how you get there, how you're successful, but it's also can be really self-destructive. So the sort of entrepreneur paradox is that if you're a quitter, you'll never get anywhere with your ideas. But if you don't know when to quit, it will eat you alive and kill you. And so I think Tom's point, I think, is really great. His discussion of how you tried to launch headfirst into the retail thing. And the retail thing can be like a brick wall. You can just keep smashing against it, keep trying, and then eventually you run out of money and you say, well, we gave it a good try. Instead, in that sort of, I'm not quitting, but I'm willing to look at how I need to pivot and how I need to creatively or innovate on my own business idea and find another avenue that has less friction. And that's a perfect example of how you did that, and it's showing itself because you found the real value proposition or the value proposition that becomes the on-ramp to the product or the service. And if you can't find that in your business idea, you're fighting an uphill battle, and your gut will probably tell you that you're doing that. And then your not quit mentality will say, well, I don't care about what you're saying. I'm not going to quit. And the reality is you need to recognize when you're running into friction and figure out if there's another way around.
I think
Go ahead, Korey. I was going to say, so you constantly have like one angel over here and one devil over there?
Yeah,
Is that
right. Yeah.
I can totally relate to that too. I think.
Dude, ice cream.
Oh, ice cream, yeah. Yeah.
There's a progression here.
I'm
Right.
sorry. I apologize.
I think for me, it's got to be like pistachio gelato.
Very good.
Yeah.
You spend a little time down at Pybus
Ice.
eating gelato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like vanilla, but then I put all sorts of crap on it.
That works.
From anything that's sweet in the fridge. Yeah, I think that two things that come to mind is, one is I can remember multiple times literally being in silence and feeling that lone wolf kind of mentality of like, and literally quitting in my mind. Like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I give up. And then for some reason, I work through that, and then I'm like, well, what are my alternative options? I'm in deep. I got to go. I got to do this. And so, you work through that in your mind, and then the next minute you're actually reinvigorated from it. And I've had that happen multiple times. And one particular story was just, a couple years ago, we were at a point where we really ran out of that base capital that we needed to continue our trajectory. And my business partner, who runs more of the financial side, sat me down and basically said, dude, you got to get the bullhorn out like you've never gotten it out before in your life. Like, we got to go. We got to get some income into this company. So we set a projection of, and we actually kind of had some fun with it. We created posters that said 75 for 75, or you'll be living down in a van down by the river, and it had Chris Farley on it. Now, the funny part about that is all of my staff is like 30 or younger, so like none of them got the joke, but I had to explain to them who Chris Farley was, which was really unfortunate. But all to say, we set a goal. We were at that point where it was time to either, hang it up or go, and 75 represented 75 new customers at $75,000 to get us to the trajectory we needed to get. We set it for October. We hit it like October 15th. So again, it's just one of those things where sometimes you want to give up, and maybe you don't tell anybody, but you literally in your mind have given up, and then something pushes you, something drives you to say, okay, what's your alternative? And pick you up by your own bootstraps and go.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Nice. Used to be peanut butter and chocolate. I think it's moved to Rocky Road. Although mint chocolate chips pretty good. For me, one of the traits, I liked all of these traits. There's a certain amount of ego that goes into it. I mean, the audacity of going out and doing something and thinking that you can go do this. And ego in two sets. To your point, Jenny, of the being polar opposites, where ego of thinking I could do this, but also checking your ego at the door and saying, I need to hire people smarter than me. And that's what I've done. I married somebody smarter than me. I hired people smarter than me. That's what you got to do, because then you set them on their course. You give them the vision. You get them excited about it, and then it's this echo chamber where they start pulling you along, and it's very exciting. So when you have those roller coaster rides and those down moments, like we had a down moment on Monday where we thought a client was going to walk away, and we had to let them walk away because they wouldn't sign this contract. And then we had the up moment this morning where it looks like they just sent the contract over saying, okay, fine, we're going to do this. And so that was a 100,000 tag order for us. And so it's like, so the ego, loving the adrenaline junkie, loving the ride, I think those are the big things for me.
So raise your hand if you've ever used a credit card to finance your company. Raise your hand if you've ever tapped into maybe your 401k or gotten a loan or did something crazy in those early years. Yeah.
Early years.
So
yesterday, right? Yeah.
Really not recommended.
So I'd like to just kind of dive a little bit into, if you have some advice for maybe some entrepreneurs in the audience or some people with ideas and want to get started. Just maybe you can talk about the financial piece. I know some of you have probably raised, angel investment, maybe some bank financing. I guess just any comments you have on the financial side of the business.
Are we doing this in order again?
It works.
We can mix it up.
Bounce
Tom,
around.
you ready to, you want to be first this time?
I can riff on this. So, I mean, the first part is what was really helpful for me was really getting my head in the game. You hear people say where you've got to create a business plan, like a 50-page business plan. And a lot of people just do slide decks now. Guy Kawasaki has a great little formula of slides to do, the 10 slides that every entrepreneur should do. And it really helps you kind of get your head around what it is that you're pitching, what you're presenting. And then you just have to go and talk as much as you can to people that you trust. And that includes people that are going to, are going to rip it apart. You want the people to rip it apart, as hard as that can be and demotivating. And then once you've kind of gone through that, it's kind of that crucible, burning off those impurities, just kind of getting your head around the idea. Then go and start asking for advice. Go talk to people who've done that and have coffee with them, have a beer with them. There's an adage that I firmly believe in, that when you go and you talk to people and you ask them for money, you're going to get advice. And then when you go and ask for advice, a lot of time, because it's a low pressure thing and they have this chance of really understanding it, you might actually get money. One of the best cups of coffee I ever had was with a guy who was one of the founders of Facebook, one of the early guys. I talked to him for an hour and he said, I'm in for 100. And it's like, where are your friends? So just being open and honest, and look at it also as I said this at a gathering not too long ago. It's very much like dating. I know you want the money. I know you need the money, but they're now with you on your team, and you need to look at each other like, do I like this person? I get that they can bring me money. That's great, but that's just one small part of it. Can this person give me advice? Can they help open some doors, make some connections? Don't be so superficial, focus just on the money, because if you have a good idea, it's going to come. Find the right people, the right advisors, the right team, the right investors.
Yeah.
Awesome. Those are great remarks. I see lots of nodding up there. Anything to add?
If you're starting something new, you really have to start something that you have an innate passion about. Don't read an article about something and say, wow, there's a lot of money in that space, I want to go chase that. And because it's this funny, a little bit hypocrisy where you're not chasing the money, but you are chasing money, right? So don't start a company for the money, but keep the money in sight. Start the company around your passion, because that's where you wake up in the morning and you're willing to go do this thing on a Sunday when everybody else is watching the Super Bowl or whatever, and all you care about is working this business. And then secondary is and I did this repeatedly where I was really kind of wanting to start businesses around stuff that I thought was fun or cool, which is the right thing to do. But if you can't find the core value in that, if you can't really find that there's like big value proposition, it's going to be a struggle, because you're just not going to, the capital that you want to raise isn't going to flow as easily. And you're just going to kind of fight that uphill battle. And then also consider the possibility that you could be early. When I first started, I couldn't get any, I tried to go the VC route and I couldn't get any interest. They just didn't get my business. They still kind of don't understand the business. But the timing got right. So I was able to survive long enough for the timing to kind of come in. And so, in 2017, Giga Watt raised $22 million, and it was not hard, which is weird to say, because in all the years prior, raising money was one of the hardest things I would try to do. I hated going out and asking for money. And now the table's a little bit turned, because I've started doing investing, and what's happened is I've realized that I'm hungry for the opportunities to come. The deal flow is kind of the term. So I'm out there looking like, please bring me these ideas, because I'm looking for ideas that align with what I invest in, and I can't get enough of good opportunities. So don't assume that the investors...
Got an idea for you.
Yeah, I'm going to get all these calls now. But don't assume that that you're sort of like impinging on this investor's time. If they take a meeting with you and you get a chance to pitch them, understand that they're actively hungry and they're looking for opportunities because in this world right now, there's way too much money sitting idle and it's not getting invested. And investors have this huge problem of trying to make enough money work. And that's that sort of, the bigger investors basically, they don't want to invest in lemonade stands. So you need to bring them big ideas that where they can write a big check and they can believe that that big money is actually going to get put to work and has a potential to go become something.
On that note, I just spoke to we spoke to an investment banker because we're at the point where we don't necessarily want to just bring on investment dollars because we're now profitable, but on the same token, we want to prepare our business for our future goal, which is either sell or go public or something larger than ourselves. And what's been very enlightening in the financial realm is they basically explained to us exactly what plateau we're on and what next plateau we're about to hit, and it was enlightening because I'm like, you're just describing this tidal wave, to use that analogy again. It's like this particular tidal wave is just one of many plateaus, and they're like, you're going to feel it. You're feeling this one at 5 million. You're going to feel this one at 10 million. You're going to feel this one. And then also what they've done is they've said, this is what you need to look like. In other words, these are the things you need to think about so that when you are prepared for a sale or going public or whatever strategy that becomes in 5 or so, years, is so that you don't miss that opportunity because there's certain kind of revenue, especially in my business where it's recurring revenue model, it's like it can have 3-4 times multiple or it can have, no multiple. So understanding where you want to be and then aligning to the best of your ability to either go after the capital you're wanting and knowing what they're going to ask and what they're going to look for before you get there was very enlightening for us because we're right in that place where we needed to know what we didn't know. And that was probably one of the better conversations we've had, was talking to somebody smarter than us and getting that information.
That's where advisors come in, because the decisions you make about your business and who you onboard and the structure and then the cap table, the set of owners and how much they own can absolutely make your business attractive for investment or acquisition, or it can break it.
Totally, and the point was right to Tom's about getting people who have the experience. Probably gave you a great deal of comfort to be able to know that potentially that investment banker may be a partner for the long term, because they've been there and they've done that before, and so they're going to offer you some advice as you structure your company, which it's really a mindful event. The structure and the organization is key, for sure. The only thing that I would add is some amazing advice. I don't know if I can add to that advice, but equity is expensive.
Yeah.
If you want to maintain control of your business, sell profitably, and you'll maintain more control. Otherwise, going the route of venture or other forms of raising capital can be more expensive in the long run than what it's really worth.
Oh, all really great comments, you guys. So I hear you have to kiss a lot of frogs. It's exhausting. You got to find good partners that add value. And then when I talk to people in the investment area, I hear that they want to invest in, people with a lot of integrity and people that they feel are really passionate. And so it sounds like you all have had a degree of success in this arena. Did you ever sweat making a payroll? Raise your hand. Tell the truth.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to change gears, and I want to talk about your stress level. So 2-part question again. So what keeps you up at night? And then what do you do to relieve stress? Do you go skydiving on the weekends or, something crazy like that? Anyone want to take a crack at that? What keeps you up at night? What is the hardest challenge?
Sure, I'll jump on that one. I don't want to have to let off the gas pedal because we've got so many municipalities coming in, and we front a lot of cash, and so we're in a good place right now. But we've got to make sure we do that raise so that we can continue keeping our foot on the gas pedal. So that definitely keeps me up at night. Then as far as the relieving stress is skiing. I mean, I feel so lucky. I moved from Indiana, and anybody who's been to Indiana, you know why I moved from Indiana. Great, straight and everything. That's where I got my education and everything. But in northern Indiana, we get all this great snow coming off Lake Michigan. So I can wake up to 2-3 feet of powder, no hills. It's maddening. It's like torture. So I've got Mission Ridge here, and I was fortunate enough to be allowed to join the ski patrol there, and so I patrol every other weekend, and those guys are all my ski buddies. It's just a blast.
So you decompress,
I
in the
decompress.
powder.
Yeah.
If you didn't realize by now, Tom is like the poster recruitment tool for the Wenatchee Valley, because he did the shared time and then actually transitioned here, and so we love hearing that, Tom. Thank you.
Well,
Anyone else?
Awesome place to be, and getting outside, I think, is where I find the greatest respite, is being able to just get outside of the walls and enjoy nature, spend time with family, really get back to what's most important in life. The trouble is still going to be there when you go back to work. You don't need to worry about that. There's always plenty of challenges and opportunities that are there. You got to get out, and finding balance with family is really where I've found that. The thing that keeps me up at night is maybe the same thing, is we've got a good thing going, and there's a lot of challenges that come to effect, whether it be people or capital, and just making sure that we have a good pulse on those and can be ahead of the curve. Sometimes we are, and sometimes we're not. When we're not, then I'm up a little bit more than when we are.
Very good.
Yeah, we're hiring so fast right now, and that is very stressful. We recruited 2 people from the other side of the mountains, which I always think is a hoorah, because it's like bringing more into the valley. But getting talent and figuring out the right seat on the bus for them, and then making sure they're supported and trained, while still, making sure that the product that we've built is being supported. I think support and quality, that quality support is massive. The dental industry, by nature, likes to have a relationship. They like to have their hand held, especially technologically, because, no offense to anyone who might be in the industry, but the technology level is not really always there. And so, we get constant calls on support, and our support people are fantastic. And I believe fully that our support model is more important than a lot of our other models. But getting to the point, the support part of it and staying up with that so that we don't lose this brand value that we've just finally worked so hard to create, that is, starting to prosper, gets crumbled because we can't take care of the growth. So I don't want to sound egotistical, but growth is one of my biggest stresses right now. It's not shrinkage. It's like, how do you make sure you take care of those people? And what do I do to relax? The same thing these guys do. This is why we live here. So
Perfect. Very good. Dave, you want to wrap us up on this topic?
Yeah, I think that the phrase "keeps you up at night" is something that people, they kind of throw it around, and I think in this experience, specifically in this experience, because I've had plenty of stress in the past, but it seems like the stress, you get used to a certain amount of stress. I used to think college was stressful. I was just talking to my daughter, and she's like, "I'm so stressed out," and I'm thinking, like, you don't know stress.
Yeah.
But little by little, you build up, but you do need coping mechanisms. So it's not just that you can ignore stress well. You need coping mechanisms, and I think that the "keeps me up at night" phrase, the problem for me, I don't know if this is the same way for everybody, but that at night when I'm just trying to fall asleep is when these things turn into demons. I mean, they can haunt you, these stresses. The reality is, in the morning, in the light of day, a lot of times they don't look so scary and bad. I mean, it's really not always so bad. But for some reason, for me, at night when I'm trying to sleep, is when this stuff seems so big and my mind will spin out of control. So
Medication for that.
yeah, and I mean, medication can be effective, but you don't want to overdo those kinds of coping mechanisms. I think getting sleep, however you have to do it, getting like a solid 8. So like for me, I'm usually up till midnight, 1 o'clock, which means my solid 8 goes till 9 a.m. Right, which is kind of goes against the kind of the traditional office hourly schedule kind of thing. So be it. Because my power time is actually more like 10 a.m. till midnight, and I'm going strong through the whole time. The other thing that keeps me awake is when I'm super jazzed. Like sometimes business is going well, you get a few meetings and you get some things happening, and you are like exploding. You're super excited. Things are going great, and that's just an all-nighter, right? I mean, because you're not going to be able to sleep. I don't get out as much as I should. My wife is nodding at me like, I rode my road bike. I used to ride many miles, thousands of miles a year. It's something, to get back to. Skiing for sure. I'm a car guy, so I try to get opportunities 3-4 times a year to get out in a car that's like a performance vehicle and really get the adrenaline like flood of, and that's where I get some aggression out, and it's something I can carry with me. Maybe it's a guy thing, I don't know, but it works. So whatever works.
Awesome. Great, you guys. Well, I see the boss is saying I have one more question in panel format here, and then we'll turn it over to the audience, and we'll have another microphone that's available for your questions. So I think we'll kind of talk about what your plans are, say, in the next 3 to 5 years. So an old myth that I often hear is, once these entrepreneurs get things started and the company's going and it's not as exhilarating and as it was in the beginning, they decide this is not that much fun anymore and they want to move on maybe to chase another shiny object. So what are your thoughts on that, I guess, as far as it relates to your current business? Where will you be in 3 years?
Well, we have a lot of work to do, and so I think we'll still be at it in 3 years. Just as many of the guys talked about having that purpose of why we're here, we're changing the world in equitable knowledge exchange. There's a lot of things ahead of us. So I don't know that we'll be doing the same things in 3 years that we're doing now. Like, for example, right now our business is really tied to more software and interfaces, and over the next several months and into the next couple of years, it's going to be more about services and API infrastructure being embedded within other people's software. And we're excited for what that means in terms of scale. And so I think that how we do things is going to be a lot different in 3 years, but we're still going to be helping to make better decisions with data and protecting that knowledge asset as it's used across the supply chains. There's a big opportunity for a lot of people there.
Plenty of work to do, right?
Plenty of work to do.
Yeah, okay, very good. Dave, how about you?
Well, I expect Giga Watt's business is kind of a little bit like farming or one of these businesses that's very scale oriented. So we're in a scaling race right now, and we're really building. We're trying to do the sort of, we need 1,000 acres, right, to continue to be competitive and continue.
How many acres do you have, if you don't mind me interjecting?
Well, that was a bit of an analogy because our business actually doesn't need a lot of acreage, but we need a lot of compute capacity. So we're building 60 megawatts of what we call sort of data center 2.0 or blockchain data center infrastructure that will be filled to the brim with compute capability. But then to give kind of the follow-on scaling range, we'll be going from 60 megawatts to hundreds of megawatts is the goal, which means we have to start looking outward as well, because the opportunities for that much power are not really readily available now, but we're entering into the sort of the multi-year planning phases to bring it all back home when it's ready, and that may require investments into local infrastructure to make it happen. So for me personally, I think that all entrepreneurs, if you can get to this stage, and that's a fortunate thing, you might recognize that while you were there with the energy required to kind of get this immovable object going, you may not be the most suited to actually run a company every day. You may not be that structured, accountability-oriented individual that can set KPIs for your team, and you may not find that to be your passion because you entered into this thing for a different reason. So you have to be ready and willing to not be the lone wolf thing, and bring in really capable team members that might know a couple things more about how to structure teams and how to do good quality hires and how to do all the stuff that you've been doing, but you sort of seed all that over, and you have to realize that maybe running around and doing hand waving and talking to people about your business is actually what you're good at, and that's all you should do. And then there's this guilt thing that happens.
Amen.
Yeah, you don't, you feel like I feel like I'm just playing and I'm not doing anymore. And I couldn't actually sit down and concentrate for more than 10 minutes on any one task. And that's because you've got team. If you've got quality team doing it all, you actually do get a chance to bring really strategic, big picture stuff to your company, and that's how you grow.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah, I would just dovetail that in that I think we're going to be here for a long time. Our goal in all transparency is to build a company that we can sell. I mean, that's the goal. But we may never sell. Somebody may never want to buy us. So it would be ignorant for me to think, oh man, I can't wait till that pot of gold happens at the end of the rainbow. That's stupid. So while we're building that, we're building a lifestyle company. We're building a company that people want to work for in this valley and enjoy coming to work. And we're building a company that, this valley is just prime for, which is get on your bike, go around the loop, come back, do some great technological stuff with awesome internet, all that great stuff that we all live here for. That's what we're building. And so, yeah, we're going to be here. And the busier we get and the more, it's kind of funny, that whole guilt thing you mentioned, I'm right in the middle of that right now. It's like, oh gosh, the team's pretty good at what they're doing. What am I supposed to do now? And then you look under the rug and there's all these dust bunnies that you have to sweep out. There's always something to do. So yeah, I think we're going to be here for a long time and there's plenty of work to do.
Very good. Tom, you want to wrap us up?
The dust bunny comment made me think I'm the guy who's always taking our cardboard to the recycle place. Which when you're an entrepreneur, you just do whatever needs to be done, right? And because you need to make sure your team is focused on their tasks. So I'm actually that guy who wrote that 50-page business plan that I said that you shouldn't write. But I have so many ideas of things that we want to do, and this was just scratching the surface. You have to start with a minimum viable product, and we basically have gone beyond that now, but we want to create, with all of these pets that are coming onto the site, the next phase for us of peeling that onion is creating a marketplace. So creating a place where people with services, different things to offer pet owners, can come and basically advertise their services to people. And we've got all this rich data where you can actually say, I'm an animal trainer who specializes in Boston Terriers that are over 7 years old, who have this particular, grumpiness about them, looking at your dog.
Are you describing
Big data, pet world.
And so it's exactly what it is. This is a big data company is what we've built and what we're continuing to build. As far as where we are 3 years from now, we're not a lifestyle company. We have investors. We have a fiduciary responsibility to them to make a good return on their investment. That being said, we want to find a company that will want to keep us where we are so we can continue to have jobs here, hopefully do what a lot of people refer to as an acqui-hire. It's an acquisition and hiring the people who have created this company, but who have the deep pockets to help us take this vision to a much higher level than what we've created, because there's so many things we could do with this. And there's a reason it's called Hub. It's not petbackhome.com. It's Pet Hub. And so this is the hub of your animal's life, of all kinds of things could plug into us. Want to talk to Drew about the API stuff, because we're building one of our API layers right now so that people doing mobile apps, people doing shelter software, people doing whatever can plug into us, use us as their back end, or share customer data back and forth. So that's where we're going. And that's a lot of work to do, and I'm excited about it. And I don't feel guilty about being the nerd and sitting in my room banging out code. But so I'm looking to find a CEO that can kind of do some of those big pictures. So I really like that point that you made, Dave.
So you think about a succession plan at some point for your role.
Oh, you got
Very good.
Most
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah, awesome.
Comes back
Okay.
to check the ego at the door. You gotta.
Yeah, very good. Okay, I think we have time for maybe 2 questions. So Jenny is here with a mic, and I have one too, or you can just shout it out.
Is there any one thing that you would recommend or hope to see in this community to further improve the business climate?
more training.
Yeah, I was thinking more classes, more education,
I mean, the
programming.
yeah, I mean, I can't imagine there's not one of us that doesn't need software developers.
Mhm.
It's really hard to recruit that specialized talent. You know, Seattle, et cetera, spends, you know, average salaries of around $100,000 to $150,000 for a developer. Getting someone to uproot themselves from that kind of salary level and move to Wenatchee is challenging. And yet, it's hard to find that kind of technical and talent and training here. Although I say that out loud, and there's only one guy that we've actually hired who has a degree. So a lot of that's learned just by, you know, they just love this stuff and they learn it through, you know, just getting on the computer and banging it out. But I think ultimately, just more training resources, more talent, more ways to teach people these specific vocations.
Yeah, and I think it's staying the course, because I know Wenatchee has put a lot of cool programs into place. I was pleased to sit down at some of these breakfasts and see that Wenatchee is actually saying, look, we're trying to make sure that people can find business space. We're improving airport. We're getting flights direct to San Francisco. And I'm just like, this is so progressive and forward thinking. And then reaching out to the community and saying, okay, we don't know everything. You know, what else should we be doing, guys? And the fact that they also have this STEM program, just stay the course. I think it's so cool that's, I get to talk to some grade school kids next week, right? And we're talking about programming. And so I'm with you. We need to get more programming, but it's also, they set out a plan, stay the course. This is fantastic.
I am hoping that we can attract, call it the sort of 40-something programmers that have done this was me. I was a programmer for a dozen years, and I commuted from Everett, Washington, down into Redmond to work at Microsoft or downtown Seattle, and it sucks. And if you're a young, sort of, you know, millennial type person, you're living in a little condo or something downtown, that's a cool experience. But I think that a lot of people, they sort of reach this point where they want that quiet. They want the, you know, the nature and the accessibility and the beauty that's out here. So we're sort of hoping we can attract those guys to come. They'll take a pay cut because they understand the economics of like $150K salary, but you pay $300 a month to park, and then there's this and that. You know, so out here, no traffic. We can still pay we can pay a good wage. I mean, we're a tech company, so we can afford just a little bit better wage. But, you know, to try to convince them to come out and take a $50K pay cut or something, it's a little bit tough. And knowledge about this area can get out to them. We might be able to attract them.
We are seeing that's getting, at least in our space, we are seeing that's getting easier. Wenatchee's doing a heck of a job creating a place that we all knew it was desirable. And for a while, we wanted to hold that close.
I think we still kind of
do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But to Tom's point, you know, stay the course. There's a lot of
Yeah.
activity in getting out there. And what we're excited about is that older generation of programmers, not just for their technical capabilities, but for their mindfulness. Someone who's moving into that stage of life is more emotionally intelligent, more connected, being able to relate with the clients and really understand how to apply that technology. And so, you know, while I think the technical and the STEM classes and creating the paths for students today are really exciting, you know, more of an emphasis on mindfulness, on emotional intelligence in the workplace is really valuable. Those are the difficult things to hire for.
And we need housing.
Great. I think the boss is going to wrap us up. I do just want to thank you, gentlemen. I'm, on behalf of GWATA and myself personally, very proud to have assets like you in our region. And keep up the good work. We know it's really hard, and hopefully you can reach out to folks in this audience as far as resources and, you know, keep the communication open on how this community can support you and your success. And anytime you want to go and you know, help recruit, and you guys would be great spokespeople for this area. So I'll turn it back over to Jenny, and she'll get us out of here.
Yeah, let's thank our panelists and our moderator for being here today.
Good job, guys.
Nice to meet you guys.
was an outstanding panel, and I know we didn't have a lot of time for questions, but one of the commitment of GWATA events is that we end on time. These gentlemen, along with our moderator, will be here for a few minutes, so if you didn't have time to ask your question, I encourage you to come up front. And I also encourage you to plug in with GWATA. So as you can see, we have amazing innovators and champions of not only our organization, but this community. We've got our Tech Talk and Happy Hour tomorrow, member events in February and March, and then of course the Flywheel Investment Conference, which is about supporting not only local companies, but bringing companies out to our area. We've got a partnership with WSU to bring students in to talk about getting more developers in our region. So we're really excited about plans for 2018, and thank you for your time.